Welcome back to the channel. Hello? Welcome. So we got the truck, the links done. We've got the bumper is basically done. If you take out the brake lines and the exhaust, I'm basically back to square zero. I'm back to it being a movable, under its own weight unit where I can actually start building what I said I was going to build instead of just making it function again. So anyhow, we're going to be knocking out the boxes for the upper control arms, for the upper shock tower mounts, as well as the back plate, little bench I was talking about. Those are coming up right now. So we got the template made, super simple. Very flush on each side of the shock tower. And then on this side, as you can tell, it says driver cab and then with an arrow facing that way. And if you take this guy and you undo it and you put him over here, and give me a second here, see if it'll hold itself up. And it won't. All right, well, anyhow, super flush to this on this side. This side says passenger side cab and flush on that side as well. So it's always nice when your template for one side mirror images the opposing side. Kind of means that you're doing something right. Since these shock towers were built completely separate of each other, use the same template for the shock towers, but they were built completely separate. So that's always kind of reassuring. Let's take a look at this. So tape measure is on edge of frame, and if you come on this side, we are on the edge of the frame. 34 inches, all right? I've got the templates for the towers already mapped out. Driver side, passenger side. It's got an overlay. That way I can cut it because this is flush with the towers. I need it to be a little bit more narrow, just by a little bit. But the edge, 34 inches. Now, depth-wise, this is 2 feet. I need to be 23 inches deep. So I have to cut 1 inch off of this. It's literally, this is the back of the truck. This is the workbench. So the back bench is on. I did not take into consideration when I built these that the bottom hole was going to be like half cut because of the table. So I ended up just filling them in. And the way I did that was I took this guy, which this is the insert to the opposing side, but it was the insert to that when it got hole sawed. So I put that in from the back side because it has a little lip on it, as you can kind of see. And then I used a magnet to hold it flat with the outer plate. Of course, welded it in, and then fluffed and buffed it. So once it gets painted and whatnot, you'll never know that those were there. Good afternoon. It is currently like 3 o'clock, and we are back on the truck. Take a look at what we've got here. The last time I left you guys alone, it wasn't even welded. And now would you take a look at that. The top of the shock towers need to be fluffed and buffed as well, but I haven't welded the inside crack because of the tube. So I'll save that for later. But we've got corners are looking sharp as ever. Pintail is back on. This corner is looking spicy. I also welded in a little catch at the front of the workbench, so that way any bolts or tools or hardware and whatnot doesn't roll off the back of the truck when we're working on it. That's the last thing you need. We're not going to be level out in the field, so we gotta have something. But look at her, she's a little cattywampus. This side is higher for some reason, I don't know why. So if you remember in step 2 when I made the bumper, I leveled the bumper out. It was perfectly level with the truck. I don't really know what happened. The back was level and these shock towers are identical. They're the exact same, and if you look down the side of them, they are also exactly in plane. So you're looking at the far side shock tower in comparison to the front shock tower. Perfectly in plane there, perfectly in plane right here, and perfectly in plane on top. So I don't really know where I went wrong, but I went wrong somewhere. And now the driver's side is taller than the passenger side. And I even dropped the driver's side an inch on the coil to bring it down. And I could not for the life of me figure out what I have done wrong, but this side's a little more up. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit burnt out on the back of this truck at the moment. It looks beautiful, I'm happy with it, but I'm getting a little tired of it, okay? So you haven't really seen the cab too much. I haven't showed the inside, not the engine bay. So I'm gonna introduce you to that, and then we're gonna start cutting the cab up. So what you're looking at here, folks, is a 1971 GMC K20. And I went straight to the factory in 71 before I was conceived, and I made sure they put the custom badge on her because we're doing something custom in the rear, and that's only for this truck. You won't find it nowhere else, but GMC custom, all right? Pretty simple truck, bench seat, beautiful, still has some leaves on it. Have not cleaned this thing out since I bought her. It's got a high-low transfer case, steering column, extra gadgets. And yeah, that's really about it. So the real issue with this truck is passenger side, we've got a healthy amount of cancer growing. We've also got this little speed hole right here, which is definitely not looking too spicy. We've also got this old girl down here. Now someone cut out the material here at one point in time. Was not me, but oh wow. Oh, I do not like this. Why is this still coming out? Oh my gosh. That's a little... Oh boy, look in there. So to try to combat in that rust area in that far corner, we have a line drawn that is a 1/2 inch below the door, all the way across, and it basically will cut that section of goo out. So in the background of these videos, you might have seen this massive tower of boxes. You got an aluminum one on top, and you got 3 to follow. And if you guessed that the 3 to follow were the same as the one on top, you would be correct, as long as my shipping was not skewed. So the original plan was to have 2 double stacked just like this. They are perfectly flush with what I just cut earlier. You can't see from that side, hold on. Sorry. They're nice and flush with the cab, just about right. And the plan was to run 2 of them just like such. But that, I don't know how I feel about that. It's just a little bit like too much. All right, so here's just one, which I can obviously move. If I'm just gonna do one, I can do higher or lower, or I can't go lower, but I can go higher. But one looks good, one doesn't look too bad. It clears the link bar still, so that's perfectly fine. I have plenty of room to do a headache rack, which, like I said, that is going to be very important, and you guys will see why later on. But man, I feel like 2 of them on each side was just a little bit too much. Good morning, it's another beautiful day working in the shop. We've got the wrecker behind us here. But I want to show you guys something a little different. Okay, this is the truck that I used to get all the material to build the K20, as well as get food and just handle everyday business, all right? So this is her. What you're looking at here is a 1992 Mazda Miata. And I'll tell you what, she's got the sliders and the headache rack on her right now. She puts out more than your guys' full sizes. How about that? I built this car, I don't know, a while ago. Just kind of been adding to her ever since. You guys will see much more of the Miata as time comes on. We plan to put a 2-inch receiver on the front of the car and then make a hitch bracket for a winch so I can mount it on the front or the back. And we plan to put this car to use, probably just for like sand recoveries and whatnot, but I don't know how good it would be to winch off of. It only weighs maybe 2,000 pounds, if that. So it's not exactly a good anchor for that matter, but yeah, we're gonna find out the capabilities of that car. I know it can get down in the dirt. It's not 4-wheel drive, it is 2-wheel drive, and it's gonna stay that way. We're gonna build coils. We're gonna build longer A-arms and put better suspension in it because it rides a little hard right now. But yeah, you will see more of the Miata. It will get put into work here pretty soon. This bushing that came out of passenger side or driver's side used to look like that. I'm not really sure what happened to it, but it died. Okay, so you remember earlier in the video that I said I had to drop this coil over right here because it was the bed was like a little bit crooked. You can kind of see it in the video. Well, I just welded in the bed, the cab pucks, I'm sorry, so that way the cab is hard mounted. And driver's side, it is 2 inches. The cab is level, passenger side is 2.5 inches from the body mount. And I'm assuming the body mounts are perfect because they're factory. So yeah, so something in the frame is tweaked probably before I got it. The rock sliders are in and looking spicy as ever. Super flush in the rear. Got that tube going there. The box isn't mounted yet, but there's a other piece of the slider. It is a new day and we're back in the shop working on none other than the world's greatest off-road wrecker. I got the driver's side mirrored to the passenger side. You watch and build that one. I mirror image this side, so this side's done, okay? Or they're together. We're gonna start building the winch plate, the belly winch, the one that goes in right there. So we got some boxes installed, all welded in, nice and fancy. Yes, I will box this in, don't get scared. Here's what it looks like with an actual toolbox involved, so it just kind of fills in that little space there at the bottom. But this is what Badlands sends out for their mounting plate. This guy right here, right? 1/8 inch thick. I can't believe it. Like this must just be like a cost savings thing. Because let me just show you what I'm doing, okay? Take a look here. This is what I'm using, which is a 1/4 inch plate, which has already been cut to size, 43 inches long. And this is the plate that they recommend that you use for, or they send out. Maybe they may not recommend it, but they send it out with the winches. Like, what is that gonna do? My Miata would break that. But anyhow, we're gonna mount the winch in just a moment here, and it's getting mounted at a 45-degree angle. And the reason for that is this guy right here. Now this guy is the same thing as this guy. It's a winch chingus, winch fair lead, right? The way this is gonna work is this guy will sit sideways right above the window. And what that will allow is the winch line to be redirected so it can go up through the winch chingus that I made and then out either side of the truck, as well as wanting to run it out the back of the truck. So it'll have 3 positions that it has the option to be ran through. And the headache rack will also be involved. So these chinguses, I have 2 more of them, will go on each end of the headache rack. And then we'll have the winch chingus that I made, redirecting it left and right. You'll see, it's gonna be amazing. The winch plate that I built is rough, or we'll zero it out, right? 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. This scale goes up to 50. See if I can balance it. There we go. 36.82, 37 pounds. Personally, I think that the winch plate that I built is a little bit small, but it's gonna get reinforced with the headache rack and whatnot, so it's gonna be just fine. Now, 36.82. All right. We're -3 now. Okay, it just had to relax from the weight. Now, the winch plate that Badlands sells. 1.8. 1.8, folks. Unreal. If that's not the winch plate, then I'm just tripping over nothing. But, like, what? It doesn't even make sense. And nothing else in the package, in the box, would fit the 4 mounting points that are on the winch. So unless they sell that just to sell it, to say it comes with a mounting plate, I don't know. But that is insane, folks. The winch plate is built. Definitely needs some more work, but it's there. I went a little farther out. It's directly against the cab, which is okay, not gonna hurt anything. The good news is that the barrel is, the outside of the barrel is like right here, and it can go straight up. So I have plenty of up room to go to the upper chingus. So that's good. I will have to cut out from here to here, cut this down and notch it for the lower line to go all the way across. But that's a later problem. But look at her, she looks good. Drop the winch into here, and it lines up perfect. That piece of pry bar will obviously be gone, so that won't be there. Yeah, actually got something going here. All right, the winch box is completely in. I still need to box that. Totally forgot to do that, but that's okay. It is locked and loaded. I'm not going to weld this quite yet because I have to cut the center section out a little bit. So I want to wait until that is cut before I weld it all in. But we also have the pry bar out, which is nice. So no more pry bar. So all we got to do is remove that guy next at some point, and it will be back to not being supported by random objects. But anyhow, the winch box, that is what you call being unprepared. I was not prepared to make that today. My goal today was to build a headache rack. That didn't happen. But this needed to be done prior so that way I could land tubes on this from the headache rack. And I could also mount the headache rack in places and it would all work. So this was a requirement, but I wasn't prepared for it. So obviously you saw the flat boxes first. My plan was to just mount the winch flat, and then I realized, hey, I want to go up, and then it wouldn't work because the winch needed to be tilted, and it's just, I wasn't prepared for it. So it's a give and take, I guess, but it's done. The good news is that it will be covered, the sides will be covered by the boxes, so you won't see it all that much. The bad news is that it had to happen the way it happened, and you guys got to see it. But I'm not ashamed of it. It's still gonna be super strong in comparison to the 1/8 inch plate that it was. So we're gonna cap this one off here. The next one, I can guarantee you we'll have the headache rack because that's exactly what we're gonna start with. So anyhow, thanks for watching, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. And yeah, as this truck continues to get built and tear me apart.